All right, everyone, this is Chapter 19, Selling Digital and Cross-Platform Advertising. Salespeople who sell for traditional media have websites, and they will often sell the online and offline media either separately or in some sort of bundled packages. Selling both online and offline channels is referred to as cross-platform selling. Now, in this chapter, we're going to talk a bit about the giants that do this and what happens if you're working with a smaller company that's trying to get into the mix here. First, let's talk about the big three: Google, Facebook, Amazon, the so-called Goliaths, as the author refers to them. There's 5 things about these 3 companies that make them really attractive and kind of makes it a bit of a challenge for others to be able to get into the mix. First off is the idea that these companies offer no ad tech tax to what they're doing. Now, we'll get into what that means in a second here. But let's talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages of buying programmatically. For the advantages, programmatic buying allows advertisers to target individuals on a wide variety of dimensions. Just about any sort of demographic or psychographic you can imagine, you can target advertising to that certain group of people. And it's often less expensive than buying from a salesperson. You go onto an interface, use software to determine what it is exactly that you want, and the computer makes it all happen. Now, some of the disadvantages of buying ads programmatically. There's going to be costs involved that don't go to the publisher of the content in which an ad is inserted. Now, some of those costs listed on your screen here, various different types of software, various data that's available from different providers of that data, different verification services that are being offered. All of these things are kind of added on sort of things that help people in the programmatic buying process. And those are generally not offered by the advertising, the place that a company is doing the advertising with, is what I should say. More than 50% of what an advertiser pays for a programmatic buy is typically going to go to some of these third-party or middleman companies and not to the content publisher that runs the ad. So that's what we mean by ad tech tax. Okay? Now, when you're dealing with the Goliaths, Google, Facebook, Amazon, they have their own data that's included in the cost of their ads. So you don't have that ad tech tax. In other words, an advertiser is going to get more bang for its buck because everything is included when they go and do an advertising buy. Now, some other things here about dealing with the big 3. It's going to provide some of the best return on investment. A 2018 survey said that 48% of media buyers saw their best ROI from Google, 30% from Facebook. So right there, that's more than 3/4 of people that say that with those 2 companies, they get the best results from advertising with them. Effective targeting. Their first-party data and targeting dimensions tend to be more accurate. They're bigger. They've collected a lot more data. They make it work within their system, so they fine-tuned it. It's a well-oiled machine. Also, in terms of some of the ad blocking software that's out there, ad blocking software generally does not work on apps on the smartphone. It also does not work on Amazon. So that stuff is going to get through whether you want it to or not. And then these companies also offer free support for large advertisers. If you're spending more than $1 million a year advertising with any of those particular companies, you are going to get some of the best customer service that you can find. So what does this do for the other guys that are out there? How do the Davids try to battle Goliath? Well, first, you offer expertise. If you strive to be an expert in selling digital or cross-platform advertising, you have to understand the underlying functionality and technology of that advertising. So getting into some of the minutia of what it is to buy and sell programmatically and deal with online advertising, that's stuff you really need to know about. Not so that you can expound your knowledge on those that are looking to buy, but that you're able to use and apply that knowledge into a way that's very practical for them and help them to be able to explain how things are going to impact your clients. Some resources that allow you to be able to get some of this knowledge. You see those there on your screen. The Interactive Advertising Bureau, a great resource for you to be able to get all different types of information, and they also offer a digital media certification. So if that's something that you're interested in, I encourage you to take a look at that. Links again are in your notes. Second strategy, inclusiveness. Avoid knocking the competition, including other types of media. Take a look in your textbook for some of the reasons that you don't want to do that. They're pretty compelling. Adding media platforms to an advertising campaign is going to deliver increasingly higher return of investment with each media platform added. So we're talking about using multiple forms of media here. And again, there's some examples of that in your textbook. In order to put the theory into practice, there's a great kind of example / case study in your textbook. Read the example of Hess Jewelry. It kind of goes into some of the ways of processing through all of this and making sense of it for a particular client. It's kind of hard to talk about a process for this per se because it's going to be different every time with every company and with whatever different forms of media are being considered. So it's one of those things where, again, you do have to have a certain amount of knowledge on these things and make that stuff work for the particular situation that you're in. Now, the third strategy is to focus on new opportunities. And there's 3 things in particular that the author suggests that you take a look at. First off, retail-dominated digital ad investments are going to increase. Because retail is the number 1 category for investment in digital advertising, it's worth taking a closer look at retail and where the potential growth in retail is. This might seem a little out of sorts when you consider that it's so easy to buy things online, but look at the past couple years of the rise of ordering something online, then going to a store and picking it up. Also, there's the fact that if, say, for some reason you have to return a product, it's easier to go somewhere physically to do that as opposed to perhaps having to deal with repackaging it and taking it to the post office or to UPS or whatever and mailing it back and going through all of that. So this is where brick and mortar retail can still have a strong presence. Second, more conventional brand marketers are going to embrace direct-to-consumer marketing, DTC. Big brands are realizing that the only way to have a relationship with and understand their consumers is to cut out the middleman and have a relationship with them directly. We're seeing this happen more and more. It's kind of a reversal of some of the smaller brands that have been out there that have gone direct-to-consumer and have started making their products available in retail stores. We're starting to see it go the other way around in reverse right now. So that is something to keep in mind. And then thirdly, exploding use of artificial intelligence and augmented reality. AI is certainly going to change marketing because it holds great promise for making marketing more intelligent, efficient, consumer-friendly, and more effective. So the more that you can take advantage of that, especially in ways that these sorts of programs and services are going to guide people into the things that they really want or really need. And you being able to guide people through that, that's just going to be a huge advantage for you. Digital marketing agencies typically have excellent training programs that teach their salespeople many of the technical intricacies of selling and evangelizing digital marketing and advertising. So if you're someone that is eager to learn, This stuff continues to evolve, and there is still a certain amount of proprietary information that's out there with various companies. So even if you have a basic understanding of what's going on with these things, there's still going to be a learning curve for how that particular sort of thing works within a certain company or within a certain culture. Once a salesperson has built strong relationships and accumulated a reasonably robust Rolodex of clients, or an address book, if you will, and you have that information, you have those contacts, you have those relationships, moving to lucrative sales jobs at radio or TV stations become a good option, or even opening their own digital agency winds up becoming a possibility. So if you're interested in doing sales, it's not a bad road to travel to start with doing digital marketing and then moving on to other types of sales and marketing from there. However, with the world of digital, with the world of programmatic, you still need to have some negotiating skills. Even though more and more digital ad buying will be done programmatically, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to be completely out of the picture. The lion's share of pricing is negotiated in advance between human sellers and human buyers, especially with larger buys. Therefore, it really makes sense for you to cultivate relationships and to brush up on your negotiating skills. So continue to think about those things and to see the value of them. That there's always going to be an opportunity to make a special deal, give a little bit of wiggle room, and that's the human element of selling that AI just cannot do, at least on its own. And that is chapter 19. So finish your notes, turn those in, finish your study questions, bring your questions and your thoughts to class. We'll talk about them and see if we can't tame the beast that is the digital world of programmatic.